Isla lived in a small town nestled between rolling hills. The town was known for its peacefulness, except for one place.
Perched high on a hill overlooking the town stood Widow's Keep. It was a crumbling mansion with a dark history. No one dared to go near.
The house was always shrouded in a thick fog, even on the clearest days. Isla had always been drawn to the mysterious. Stories about Widow's Keep fascinated her.
She heard whispers of a woman who had lost her love at sea. People said she roamed the halls, her sorrow trapped within the walls. Isla didn't believe in ghosts, or so she told herself. Yet something about the house called to her.
One crisp autumn afternoon, I decided to see the house for myself. Ignoring the warnings from the townsfolk, I set off towards the hill.
The air grew colder as she approached. The fog was thicker than she imagined, swirling around her feet like ghostly fingers. Isla hesitated for a moment. Fear pricked at the edges of her courage. Taking a deep breath, she plunged into the swirling mist. The house loomed large, its silhouette distorted by the fog. Isla felt a shiver run down her spine. She was here now. There was no turning back. Isla stepped onto the grounds, her boots crunching on fallen leaves. The fog muffled all sound, creating an eerie silence. She walked towards the house, her hand brushing against the rusted iron gate. It creaked open with a mournful groan. Isla took that as an invitation rather than a warning.
The house seemed to watch my every move. Its windows were dark, like empty eyes. The paint peeled from the walls, revealing the rotting wood beneath. The air hung heavy with the smell of dampness and decay.
Isla shivered, pulling her jacket tighter around her. As she walked towards the front door, she thought she heard voices. They were faint whispers, carried on the wind. She stopped, listening intently. The whispers seemed to be coming from inside the house. Isla couldn't make out the words, but they sent chills down her spine. Steeling herself, Isla reached for the doorknob. It was cold and damp to the touch. The door creaked open, as if beckoning her inside. Isla hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. The inside of the house was dark and dusty. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and the air was thick with the smell of decay. Dust motes danced in the faint rays of light that filtered through the grimy windows. Isla stood in the foyer, her eyes adjusting to the gloom. The whispers were louder now, seeming to come from all around her.
Hello?
Isla called out, her voice echoing through the empty house. There was no answer, only the sound of her own breathing and the creaking of the old house. Isla took a tentative step forward, her hand trailing along the wall for balance. The floorboards groaned beneath her feet, sounding like mournful sighs.
Is anyone here?
Isla called out again, her voice trembling slightly. This time, there was a response. A deep voice, soft as velvet, whispered her name.
Isla.
Isla froze, her blood turning to ice in her veins. She spun around, searching for the source of the voice. The shadows seemed to deepen, closing in on her. Fear coiled in her stomach, cold and tight.
Who's there? Who said my name?
A cold breeze swept through the house, stirring the dust and cobwebs. Isla shivered, pulling her jacket tighter around her. The voice spoke again, closer this time.
Don't you recognize me, Isla?
The voice was strangely familiar, like a half-forgotten melody. Isla strained to place it, her mind racing. Then she saw him. A figure stepped out of the shadows, his features slowly coming into focus. He was tall and handsome, with piercing blue eyes and a melancholic smile.
You...
Isla breathed, taking a step back. She knew him, she realized with a jolt of fear and recognition. His face haunted her dreams, though she had never seen him in waking life.
But how?
You know me, Isla. We have met before, in another life, perhaps.
The man took a step closer, and Isla felt a strange pull towards him. It was as if some invisible force was drawing her in. His eyes held hers, their depths filled with a mixture of sadness and longing. Isla felt her fear giving way to a strange sense of curiosity.
Who are you, and what do you want from me?
My name is Lucian, and you, Isla, are the key to breaking an ancient curse.
Isla frowned, confused.
A curse? What are you talking about?
Lucian reached out, his fingers brushing against her cheek. His touch sent shivers down her spine.
We were lovers in a past life, Isla, but our happiness was cut short. We were torn apart by a jealous rival, and I was cursed to wander this house for eternity.
Isla shook her head, trying to process what she was hearing.
That's impossible. This is just a dream. It has to be.
This is no dream, Isla. I have waited centuries for your return. Only you can break the curse that binds me here.
He stepped closer, his eyes pleading with her.
Stay with me, Isla. Stay with me, and we can be together again. We can reclaim the love that was stolen from us.
His words were like a siren song, tempting her with promises of love and happiness. Isla felt herself being drawn in, her resistance crumbling. She wanted to believe him, to lose herself in the fantasy he was weaving. Isla's voice was barely a whisper.
How can I break the curse?
A triumphant light flickered in Lucian's eyes.
You just have to stay here with me. Our love, rekindled, will be strong enough to break even the most ancient magic.
Isla hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. The rational part of her screamed that this was madness, but another part of her, a part that yearned for the love and connection Lucian promised, urged her to stay. The fog outside seemed to press against the windows as if trying to keep them in. Isla felt a chill run down her spine. She was trapped, caught between the allure of Lucian's promise and the growing unease in her heart. As Lucian leaned in, about to kiss her, a glint of metal caught Isla's eye. She looked down and saw a tarnished silver locket dangling from a chain around Lucian's neck. It was identical to the one her grandmother always wore, the one she had inherited.
Where did you get that?
Isla asked, her voice sharp with suspicion. She reached out and touched the locket, her fingers trembling. It was cold beneath her touch, as cold as ice. Lucian stiffened, his eyes widening in alarm. He pulled back as if burned.
It's nothing, just a trinket.
Don't lie to me,
Isla demanded, her voice shaking with a mixture of anger and fear. She recognized the locket. It had belonged to her grandmother, who had always warned her about the dangers of Widow's Keep. Isla stepped back, realization dawning on her. This was not the man of her dreams, the one who promised her love and happiness. This was something else, something sinister. He had used her curiosity, her longing for connection, to lure her into a trap.
You're not Lucian, are you? You're something else, something pretending to be him.
The man's face contorted in anger, his handsome features twisting into a grotesque mask.
You're not supposed to remember that. You were supposed to forget everything.
Isla didn't wait to hear more. She turned and ran, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear the man's enraged roar echoing behind her, his footsteps heavy on the wooden floors as he gave chase. Isla raced through the house, her breath catching in her throat. She dodged cobwebs and leaped over crumbling furniture, her only thought to escape the clutches of the creature that had masqueraded as her lost love. The fog outside seemed to reach into the house, swirling around her feet like grasping hands. Isla pushed open the front door and stumbled out into the cold air. She could hear the creature's enraged screams behind her, echoing through the empty house. Without looking back, Isla ran towards the safety of the trees. The fog clung to her like a shroud, but she didn't stop running. She could hear the creature's footsteps getting closer, and knew that he wouldn't give up easily. Finally, she burst free of the fog and stumbled into the relative safety of the woods. She leaned against a tree, her chest heaving, her lungs burning. She had escaped, but she knew she wasn't safe. Not really. Isla didn't stop running until she reached the outskirts of town. She looked back towards the hill, towards the looming silhouette of Widow's Keep, half hidden in the swirling fog. She could almost imagine she saw a figure standing at the window, watching her. Or perhaps it was just the wind playing tricks on her. She knew she would never forget the horrors she had witnessed inside that house. The whispers in the fog, the man with the piercing blue eyes, the chilling realization that she had been lured into a trap. These memories would stay with her forever. As she walked away from the house, she could have sworn she heard her name being whispered on the wind. Isla quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that the creature was still out there, trapped in his prison of fog and shadows, waiting for his chance to reclaim her. And she knew, with a chilling certainty, that he would never truly give up. The whispers in the fog would forever follow her, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the veil of reality.